You're listening to The Marketing Trench, the official podcast where no real estate professional gets left behind in the pursuit of building a business they can be proud of. A podcast designed to help you build the foundation of a powerful real estate career. Join real estate experts Ricardo Bueno, Marketing Technology Director at West, Dustin Stevie, CEO of Lighthouse Escrow, and Scott Shang, partner at Bywise Mortgage and founder of Find My Way Home, as they bring you real-world strategies, marketing ideas, and solutions straight from the trench.
All right, welcome to the Marketing Trench podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about using video and growing your business through video, especially through personal storytelling. And my good friend Chris Kwon of Compass Real Estate is joining us today. Chris, how you doing?
I am well. I'm alive.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to be here.
So Chris and I have been working together for, 4 or 5 years now at least. And, when Chris first came to Lighthouse and we first met, he was the hardworking agent who was going anywhere he could go to get business. And it's just been amazing to watch his career just skyrocket because Chris, like I told these guys when I was introducing you, you're just one of these genuine people who really is great at your craft, but also you're sincere in your approach and you connect with people, and that comes through in your video storytelling. And so one of the first things I wanted to do was just ask you, what drove you to pick up the camera for the first time and start telling stories on video?
Definitely not real estate. No, I think it was the right timing. I was obviously in real estate, but I also had my first kid. And so picking up a camera was just kind of the thing to do, right? Because I just wanted to capture everything my daughter was doing on first step, first burp, first, diaper, first, everything, right? So I've always had the camera with me, but I was also, we started working together. I was with a company that was heavy on video when really nobody was doing video. Mm-hmm. And so I got a lot of influence working with that company. And then it was I just put all this stuff together and I was like, okay, I'm going to use it for real estate. And it's ever since. So it's been like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So you started filming your kids. When did you really actually start seeing video become valuable as a tool for marketing in real estate?
It was surprisingly, like when I was with that company, there were a lot of, before I joined that company, there were a few agents in the previous company that I was in was like, that guy over there, he's doing video, but video is really, it's not, trust me, it's not worth it. Right. That was the call. Like I was at an older tradition, and that was the mentality. It was like, video was like, well, that's just a waste of time. It's just kind of showy. It's really not going to help you with your business.
Oh, wow.
Make your phone calls, go on your appointment. Like those type of stuff is like still important, but they were just like, that's what's going to get you the business. And I like the shiny penny of it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is something that I could dig, right? And so I like the traditional stuff, but honestly, it's like if I had to do that every single day, I'd probably blow my brains out. It's so boring, it's like, it's so methodical and it's just, there's just no personality to it. I just felt like, but I really liked the video aspect of it. It was very, very intriguing to me.
Chris, when you started your business, can you kind of walk me through your process? Like what was your first year in the business like and how much of that has changed now?
Yeah. So my first year in the business, I had no idea. I was transitioning from a sports industry. And so I got into real estate and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get my real estate license because I don't have to work in an office, right? I could be out, make my own schedule. And literally that first year I was in the office like all the time. It was like, this is BS. But no, I joined a team, a lot of young real estate agents who were just getting into the business. And we had 2 mentors that were in the business for like 10 or 15 or 20 years, really smart individuals, and built a culture and just did a lot of the traditional style of real estate practice, right? Which was like door knocking, open houses, just kind of trying to, just like all that traditional stuff. So I was like, we did that all the time. We would door knock literally. We'd have our meetings in the morning, go door knock in the afternoon, and we'd be done by 3. And that was every day. And then what was the second part of your question?
No, I'm just saying, like, how much of that has changed? How much of your process has changed compared to today?
Oh, it's like 180 degrees. I don't.
Oh, wow.
I do door knock prior to COVID, right?
Yeah.
I do door knock, but I don't door knock as much as I used to before. Like before, I had no other choice, but now I have other streams of business that keeps me busy. That's a lot easier, like, to handle, right? So, first year in the business, I did 25 deals. I didn't know if that was good or not. I just thought that was a normal number.
That's awesome.
Supposedly it was a good deal. It was I was on a 50% split with my mentor.
Yeah.
And that was the first year that I hit a 6-figure income.
That's awesome.
So even on the 50% split. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm giving away 50% of my income. What am I doing? Right?
Not at all. That was a killer investment. If you made 6 figures in your first year in real estate by simply making an investment in that mentor, it sounds like it got you off to the right track.
No, it was definitely it was probably the best ROI. And I tell people all the time, like, you got to join a team. You got to join a team, or a good team, right? A good team.
It's hard. So, you get stuck with the excitement of, I want to be my own boss and I want to capture all of the dollars, right?
Oh, no.
But a lot of people think that way.
I didn't think that way at all.
No. I'm saying a lot of people do think that way.
Oh, gotcha. No, I would say I was very terrified. Like my very first deal, I probably said hi and bye to the client, and literally my mentor who was helping me did the entire transaction, and I just shadowed her. And I was like, this is scary. Like, this guy's trying to buy a house. Why is he coming to me? Oh, I got a real estate license. Oh, crap. So I was terrified.
So Chris,
I was so mortified. I was like, I didn't know what to do.
How long ago was that, Chris? When did you
start?
That was
2012. Yeah.
2012. So you started doing video 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah. So I would say 2014, 15. Like 15 is when I actually started doing video.
And at what point did you realize that had fundamentally changed the way that you do your business?
I didn't see it right away, actually. It was just more of it was a curiosity for me. It was an interest for me that also helped me just kind of add something to my marketing. Like, because I felt like the more content that I created, it was just a way for me to build up my resume. Yeah. So then when I go into an appointment, like, I can show them, hey, I have this to show, and it was just a creative way for me to be able to present. And so I just felt it was just a good investment in my business. I didn't think it would be one of my main pillars of business now. I had no idea back then. It just kind of worked out that way.
What gave you the motivation or the confidence when you had those voices literally telling you, oh, that'll never work, that's not how you go about it?
Well, I mean, I always had pretty good perspective. Like, I knew the company that I first got into was a very traditional. It's been around the business for 40 or 50 years. Like, they were just a very traditional way. Like, the people in there were very cool, very nice, very professional, but they were old school.
Yeah.
And me, a younger buck coming into town, I felt like, social media. Like, look at this. Right? So, I didn't know any better. Honestly, a lot of the things fell into place just because I made right decisions. I don't think necessarily they were like, if somebody were to tell me now, like, video, I may or may not listen to them. I just maneuvered the way I maneuvered, and it just happened to work out that way.
And what kind of stuff were you shooting early on?
So, I actually wasn't shooting. I had a videographer who was working with the company. Okay. And through my frustrations of working through that process, because he would shoot and send me back the edits, and I'd be like, oh, can you cut this out? Can you do this? Can you change this? Can you change that? And it would take like several days to a week before I got any edits back. And I was like, man, this is like sorcery. Like I don't know how to. I don't know how to do this. Like this person knows how to do this.
For how big or small of a segment? Like how big or small?
It could have been like, hey, can you trim off 2 seconds of it? Like I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn this stuff. I'm gonna learn it. And I found iMovie, and I was like, oh, it's this easy? Are you kidding me? Like, come on, like you can't do So through those frustrations, I decided to learn the process and learn how to do video.
So when you decided I'm going to start doing video, did you have a strategy? Like, did you have a formula of what type of content and what type of frequency you were going to do it? Or did you just, if you had an idea, you just turned on the camera?
The second, actually. So I knew that my editing skills and my shooting and all my knowledge of video was very, very small or not very good in the very beginning. So I wanted to get to a certain level before I actually started incorporating video into like my real estate. So I took it upon myself to learn as much as I could every single day. And once I got to a point where I felt like it was, I reached that bar, at least that minimum bar, then I started doing it. In terms of frequency, I'm a millennial, so for me, frequency is not an issue. Like I'm on the phone all the time. Like I could bust the stuff out. Like it's just intuitively like, oh, I gotta post, right? It's like go to the bathroom. Oh, I gotta post something. I gotta go, go to a meeting. I post. Like it's built. It's hardwired into me.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit more structured too. I know like these are my goals every single week. This is how much stuff that I need to put out. And even still to that point, I don't think I have a content calendar, although I do have ideas written down on a notebook or like in my notepad in my phone. Like I go, okay, well, I want to get to this one day, and I'll go through the list. But a lot of the that I do put out is more stuff that's present, like things that I'm nurturing right now or things that I'm working on. So that keeps me busy.
So when you're meeting new prospects, or you're meeting somebody for the first time, or let's say you're door knocking, are you talking about your channel and your videos? Are you introducing that to people? Are you saying how you can learn more about me and the stuff that I do here on this channel? And I guess kind of the second part of that question is, how often do you have people just recognize you because of all of the video that you do?
Recognize me. I don't know. I get weird looks at the market sometimes. And so I think these people go, that guy looks familiar. Like I get that all the time. that funny feeling that just like you get?
Yeah.
It wasn't the pink bunny slippers you were wearing?
Yeah. So I don't know if like I do get recognized in public, but oftentimes I'm like, yeah, they're giving me a weird look. They either recognize me, they don't like me, or they're I don't know something. Yeah, right? I don't know. But I try and put in as much content. Do I really promote it? Like, hey, you should follow me on this or that. I don't push that a whole lot in the public, because I feel like if I do my job to put myself out there in the places that these people are at, I think the connection is a lot stronger when they come and find me, as opposed to me go to them. So I always teeter-totter between those two, because once they do follow, like I'll get people who reach out to me and go, "Hey, I've been following you for like 2 years." I'm like, great, like that's like I'm doing something right then, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
so that's it. That's interesting you say that, Chris, because I do a lot of writing, and it's the same sort of thing. You'll have somebody that'll send an email and they'll say, "Hey, I've been reading your stuff for 5 years," or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it really is amazing. People don't, as content creators, you can't rely on that instant feedback necessarily. You just have to know, because people don't always raise their hands until they're ready. But I mean, even if that was the first person that came back to you and said, "Hey, I've been watching you for 2 years," you would instantly be like, "Oh my gosh, how many other people are there out there that are like that?" Right?
Yeah. So I had, it was interesting you say that. So I had this lady that I interviewed with. several years ago. It was for a listing. I can't recall exactly what it was, but she reached out to me. We've been connected on LinkedIn for the past 3 years or whatever since we met. She ultimately ended up going with an agent, and I didn't get the job. But we stay connected, and I post stuff on LinkedIn, and she reached out to me the other day just out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I can see based off of everything that you do that you're very you just care about your business, and that's somebody who I would want to work with. I regret not working with you back then because I made an easy choice, and easy could be like cheaper or whatever. I don't know exactly."
Right.
But she was like, "Hey, if I ever have the opportunity to buy or sell real estate again, I'm going to use you." And I thought that was very interesting because I do put a lot of work, a lot of time into everything that I do, and so to have somebody actually recognize that I do that, that was
super reinforcing.
Yeah, I don't know if it was it was just kind of a shock to me because I just didn't think about it that way. I didn't think like people would think about like I put so much effort into I don't know, like for some reason I didn't just think that way, but I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I do put a lot of work and everything to that I do, and so it's for other people to recognize that. I think that's like the highest compliment that I could get.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we talk a lot about trust assets, right? And creating assets around your business that build trust. And video, I think, is by far the absolute biggest impact you can make on somebody because they get to see your personality and your passion. You don't get that in a blog post or a comment or something like that. And so that's super powerful. So Dustin was just showing your channels. Where are you distributing your content? Are you doing unique content for different channels, or are you recording it once and then distributing it?
There are certain pieces of content that I'll put out on everything, but it's very intentional because it's a piece that I want to try and reach, because every single channel has a separate audience. Some of them overlap, but it's just a very small percentage that overlap. And so oftentimes I put it on all of them if it's a content that I want everybody to see, but I usually try and keep them very separate and they're very different, right? So like my Facebook personal page is very different from my business page, and then my Instagram, and then my Instagram stories, like, and then my YouTube. I look at my YouTube channel as like my resume. So I don't ever post anything on there that's in, and I don't really post anything inappropriate anyway. But if it's borderline inappropriate, I don't put it on there. Or if it's a little too personal, I don't put it on there. It's like my business page.
Your highlight reel.
So YouTube is strictly business, where we saw your Instagram and you had pictures of your adorable daughter.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff mixed in there. It was personal and business.
Yeah. Instagram, I do both.
YouTube is all business.
Yeah. YouTube is all business. My business page is all business. My personal page on my Facebook is fun. It's typically like, I'm not like, I'll sprinkle a couple of things of real estate in there, but I would say 90% of what I post on my personal page is like non-real estate related.
Do you have a staff? How do you have time to sell real estate? It sounds like a lot of places to update.
So I have a full-time administrative staff, but the way that I'm able to justify why I'm able to do all this is because I actually enjoy doing all that stuff. So I actually don't look at it as work. And I have to ask myself, like, there was a point in time where there was this high performer in San Diego. And there was a comment made where like this lady was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about shooting my own photos for my property." And he made a comment and was like, "Look, if you want to do that, you might as well just become a photographer. Like, don't be a real estate agent." Yeah. So I took that and I was like, him being a top performer at the time I was working there. And I thought about that and I was like, well, if there's a good ROI in it, right? I mean, beyond the $100 or $200 that you would save by shooting your own photos, if there's a big ROI in it, then I could justify that. And I think what I came to the conclusion is that I enjoyed it. It was something that I was just passionate about. So I find a lot of value in being able to do that. That's not for everybody.
Well, an ROI doesn't have to be monetary. Your ROI was personal development.
Yeah,
essentially, right?
For sure.
How much do you, I'm a big content creator. I write a lot, but I know that through the act of writing and researching and the type of content, I know if I'm going to put content out there, I'm hypersensitive to it being accurate. How much have you seen that sort of influence? Did it make you? Do you think you're better at your job now because of the attention that you had to put into putting content out there in the public?
So whoever thought that we would all be and only be able to rely on like video and Zoom and social media, like nobody thought that was going to happen, right? And if you think about it, like there was a lot of coaches in real estate over the last year, 2 years have been really pushing video, and slowly agents have been kind of getting into it
begrudgingly.
And then all of a sudden one day it all turns to crap and everybody's like, okay, Amazon, where can I get the camera? Where can I, like right. Everybody's like trying to learn how to do this stuff. So people who have actually had a resume or a portfolio of video content or social media
had a huge head start.
Like these guys are killing it right now. Absolutely killing it. No dip in their business whatsoever. Like maybe the first week they'll have that SAM order and maybe you could think of that as a vacation, but all of them are like, yeah, my business is up like from last year. Cool. Crazy. I mean, it really is. And it's tough for me to be able to, sometimes I'll go to showings and I talk to agents and I will say, hey, how you guys doing? And they're like, man, we're really struggling. And I go and look and maybe they're a little bit of a newer agent or maybe they just don't have a lot of experience or whatever. And they're really struggling right now. And so, it's just, who would have thought really? Who would have thought we'd be all at home?
Yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're interviewing Chris Kwon of Compass Real Estate. Chris has worked with a number of the top brokerages here in Orange County, and last year or so made the move over to Compass. It's been really amazing to watch this. And Chris is a video extraordinaire. He's just a videographer extraordinaire. I mean, he's just got a real eye for storytelling and photography and the whole nine. And so we're really digging into the subject of growing your business through video and not just the traditional sorts of things you might think about, stuff we've talked about in the past, open house tours or market updates, but other content. Chris, where do you source your content? You've talked a little bit about your family, you've talked a little bit about the industry, but how do you know if something's going to make a good story and where are you sourcing that?
I put out content that I enjoy because going back to a previous point, like I don't want to attract the people that I wouldn't enjoy working with. And I find that the content that I put out is a big reason why they want to work with me or not want to work with me. Mm-hmm. So I may lose out on some business, but I think my mental state and my quality of life is going to be a lot better because I'm going to enjoy the people that I work with. So there's a little bit of sacrifice there. Like you have to, that's a bold decision that somebody has to make because oftentimes we're like, I'll work with anybody. Like, yeah, I don't care if you abuse me. Like I'm going to work with you. Like I'm going to close, I'm going to do what I can. Right. Mm-hmm. And I went through that mistake. I worked with some people that I was like, man, I come home stressed out, I'm just frustrated and I didn't want to live that way. So I put out content that I enjoy and what it does is it attracts the people that actually enjoys it. And I tend to work with them.
I want to push back on that a little bit because I'm not quite sure I understand. So when you say content you enjoy how? Do you mean like enjoy to make, enjoy to consume, what you think your audience would enjoy to consume? What does that mean exactly?
So there is I have to be conscious when it comes to business stuff, business content. I do have to be, I do have to walk on that fine line of professionalism and personalization, right? So I want to make sure that it's not wrong, it's not inappropriate. Like I want to make sure that it's good. So, but at the same time, like the things that I really enjoy, I mean, I enjoy playing with, so post about them. I post a lot with them regarding real estate too. So I'll put those two together. And I'll post things about like hobbies and stuff. So like a lot of people, like I enjoy equipment, like video equipment, cameras and stuff like that. Like I may not know everything. So I'll post some stuff that I'm like, hey, this is a new piece of equipment I'm trying out, or maybe I have a question about this. And people people generally like that. I mean, people are honestly surprised sometimes that they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you like that kind of stuff," or whatever. So I posted things about food. I like to eat too much, and like coffee and like all this other stuff. And I think that's I think that's me, right? And so I just put it out there.
So you record on what? Let's talk about equipment for a minute. What are you recording on? What are you editing on?
Man, I have this problem of Amazon shopping. So I have quite a few things that I shoot on. Sitting over there. But my main cameras, I really like Sony. I really like Canon. So I have a few different options to shoot over there. I shoot a lot with my phone. So like I'm a big Apple person, so Apple products are I'm very keen on. But like we need like stabilizers, like gimbals for like real estate. So I have that. And then that leads to like getting better audio. So I go and buy speakers and then mics and stuff like that. And then lighting is important. And then it's like this hole that you go down.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
It's like wormhole. And then all of a sudden you're just like in La La Land. You're like, okay, cool. Like Amazon boxes are all surrounding you. And like, okay, this is the life.
But it's your hobby, right? I mean, it's your job, but it's
an expensive
really
hobby.
Just a hobby. It's relative.
Yeah. But I mean, I purchased that stuff because I want my production to be, I want the lady to be better. And also like, I want to try stuff. Like if it's a good option and I could share it with somebody else and I'll do that. So I'll tend to be the guinea pig on some of that stuff.
So you pull out your camera. Let's just assume you're going to do something for Instagram, and it's your daughter, right? And it's maybe playtime. Like for example, there's this video of you setting up the whole pop-up tent out on the balcony, right? It looks like a camper, and you're doing the campfire and the whole nine, right? You pull out your phone. Your kids, you want them to do the thing. They don't do the thing. Are you like just get whatever you can get, or are you like kids? Okay, now this is what I need you to do. Play the director role. How does that work for you?
No, they don't listen to me. They're not at that age where they're like, okay, Dad, I'm gonna do that. Like they just do whatever they like, and sometimes it comes out great. Like my daughter is a natural on camera. She likes to talk. Like I hit that record button and she just goes for days. And it's pretty good content. Like I could be able to share that. Whereas to my other son, like he just like, he could be a volcano. He like erupts and then be okay. And then like, so I don't plan any of that out with the kids, but all the other stuff I do try to plan out if I can.
What does that planning process look like for you?
Yeah.
I have to understand the intention of that story that in my head first for me to be able to make it. And I knew that very early on. I was like, okay, if I think of something in my head, I should have the skill set to be able to put that into a video and edit it. And if I didn't have that yet, that means I wasn't good enough with the editing program. And so like, that's how I trained myself. I was like, okay, how do I learn how to do that? So I would teach myself how to do that. And I learned all of that through YouTube. I just YouTubed it and then found it, learned it, tried it. And it was just a trial and error process. And then I just started to get better and better, and repetition just got more natural with it. So I can pretty much, if I think it, I could edit it.
You said something interesting that I want to kind of dig into a little more. You had said that you needed to know that you had like an intention for your videos. Now you got onto the kind of editing component of, can I actually make the video? But what is this intention component? Can you talk about that? Like, what do you have like one purpose for the video, or it's interesting to me.
So give me a little bit more to work with.
So for example, are you familiar with Aaron Sorkin, who's a writer? He did A Few Good Men, The West Wing, Newsroom. Yeah. Okay. So he has this masterclass, and he says that any good drama has a sort of like a clothesline philosophy. And what the clothesline philosophy is, intention and obstacle. And if you have intention and obstacle, you hang the rest of the story off on that, right? And for him, the intention is the thing that like motivates the protagonist to wherever they're going, and then the obstacle is the thing that makes the video or the story worth hanging around for, because obviously they get interrupted. It's like, okay, how are they going to get to the thing they want to get to while being interrupted? So when you said, I've got an intention for this video, is this like I've got like a message I want to communicate, or is it more like I want to try an interesting editing trick and maybe kind of put a story around it? Like, what is that intention for you?
I think all of the above. Like I try to dig in deeper to understand the structure of storytelling. A big, iconic athlete that I used to follow was Kobe Bryant. And as he transitioned over into his later life, he was into storytelling. Mm-hmm. And if you actually had a chance to read some of his kids' books, they're very, very good in terms of like trying to story. And so, like I was interested in that after he obviously left the Lakers and stuff, and just the way that people actually think about storytelling is like they get you on top of a cliff and they want you to like peek down, but like, do you jump off? Do you not? Like I like that. I like kind of that kind of aspect of it. But I would never say I've broken it down scientifically or through what you just explained. Like, okay, it has to have this and this and this to make it an effective story. I just end up like sometimes I just talk about like random stuff and just like ask a question. Like I want interaction. I want some type of a emotional, like a connect with the person that's looking at it. So I wouldn't say it's a very strategic in the way that you described it, but I'll bounce back and forth between a lot of different things that I'm thinking about.
How do you know though if the idea that you have in your head is a bad one?
I don't.
That's
You'll
interesting.
know in about 30 days and how many views.
Yeah.
Can you
sometimes I'm so excited about putting out a video and I press upload and I press it and it goes out. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And there's like nobody, no, like, nothing.
And then you publish one that you're like, man, I guess I'll publish this, and it blows up.
yeah, something like that. Like I was talking to my coach the day before yesterday, and she was like, that video that you put out the other day, there was another agent who shared it with their entire team, and I'm like, oh wow, like that's kind of cool. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be a hit or not. Like you just don't know what people like sometimes.
Have you ever poured yourself? I mean, okay, let me just qualify this question for a second. When I watch your videos, I feel like they have a lot of heart and soul, right? Like you're really putting yourself out there. You're opening up the Komodo, as it were, and just being like, hey, here's who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I love. Have you ever taken that risk and had it not gone well?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was one time where I worked with these clients, helping them sell their home. Honestly, like I got them what they asked for. They sold it within like a week. They got full asking offer, and it closed in 30. Like everything on paper, fantastic, right? And they were just completely dissatisfied. They wrote bad reviews on me. And I was like, man, what is wrong with these people? And like, I actually was heated because I actually gave it my all. Like I really gave them everything that I could. Right. And it was a highest sale in the community, like all sorts of stuff. And I ended up making this video in response to their Yelp review. And it was like very, like, I wasn't thinking about it. I pointed out things of the transaction. I was like, look, I did this and this and this, and then, whatever. And then I look back now and I go, that was probably very immature for me to do. That was very early on. That was like several years ago. So yeah, you do stuff like that you're not supposed to do, and you learn from them.
Did you get negative feedback from that experience? I
got a lot of love from that feedback. There was a few people that were like, whoa, I didn't expect you to do that. But there was a couple of agents, I'm sure, like, as agents, like we go through like the ringer sometimes with some really difficult clients, right? We get beat up. And so oftentimes they don't know how to deal with that. And then sometimes I would have people come up to me and go, wow, that was really cool that you did that. But in hindsight, it's not, it's not good to do stuff like that. Like if that's their opinion, that's their opinion. You just move on. Like you just grow from it.
That's really interesting.
Not going to please everybody.
I've got more questions, but I've been hogging the airtime. So.
Actually, you haven't. Go, Dustin. It's your
keep
turn.
going.
Okay.
We hogged earlier.
So, okay, great. That's awesome. So my next question for you, Chris, is now that we do have more people who are interested in doing video, what would you say are maybe 3 or 4 common things that you see out in the industry that people are doing with video that drive you nuts, or you think that's a mistake, or maybe you just feel like I wouldn't do it that way?
I definitely have a self standard. So there are things I would never. I actually don't look at stuff and say that's wrong. Like they shouldn't be doing that. Like I actually don't think that at all. There are just certain things that I just don't do. Right. Like I look at a video and I go, that's cool, or that's probably not my taste. I would either do that or not do that. Like I think I go into that mode. What I would say now is if you look at the industry now, like you can't do open houses, you can't do broker opens. I mean, literally in the last couple of months, you don't see any open house signs. Mailers are like non-existent right now. I mean, they're probably going to come out here in just a little bit, but really all that sweat equity that you could do before, if you didn't have the check equity, like it's gone. So how else are you gonna market yourself now? And like honestly, for a person who has never done that before, and they're going into the living room with me now to compete for a job, the only way they're winning that business is by reducing their fee. That's the only way that they're going to win that business. And by that, they're actually crippling themselves, because all of a sudden, really, they're not making that much money. They're not spending any money on advertising. They're doing a disservice to the client, and they're just hurting the industry in order to get a few bucks. So that's how I look at it.
Can you talk to us about your standard? What are some of the things that are on your standard list?
Like in terms specifically,
you have things that just like I would do this. What are those things?
So I know that like I have a certain style, right? So in terms of like technical style, like I want to make sure that the audio is good. I want to make sure that the lighting's good. I want to make sure that the color grade is good. The composition's good. Like that's just my standard. And then just me being able to just talk and then have it be an effective video, like getting my point across, whatever that is, right? So if I'm selling a property, I got to make sure that I'm selling that property. Like these are the benefits of this property and why you should buy this house. I got to relay that message through video somehow. So those I would say are like my standards. And then I have a certain style, right? That I typically like, that I feel like is creative, but also like professional. Like it hits all those little buttons. But beyond that, I don't have anything else. Like that's important to me.
So what would you say then informs your taste the most? Are there any videographers or other agents or people you follow on social media that you're like, these people, they inspire me?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the people, like there's a ton of people on YouTube. There's a ton of people on Instagram. I spend a lot of time on those platforms just to kind of see what other people are doing. And I gravitate to the people that I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting perspective on the way he puts. So I'll follow a lot of those people, and for everybody, it's different, right? So on YouTube, I'll go on YouTube and, let's say I'm looking for cameras or for anything, like I'll go and search for that kind of stuff, and I'll find somebody that I really like and, follow them and just get to know them. And I think that's how it works for consumers when it comes to real estate, right? They'll follow you, they'll watch you, they like what you're doing, and they get sold on your. So like, I just want to recreate that experience because I go through that all the time.
Are you using any of your content to do like, do you run ads using a lot of your video content?
Yeah.
Do you do like YouTube pre-roll ads and Facebook ads and all that?
Yeah. So Facebook for sure. I get people all the time that are like, man, you're on Facebook all the time. Like it'd be a good or bad, right? Like get off my Facebook channel, right? Or like Instagram, YouTube. I've had a couple clients this week just reach out to me and say, hey, I saw you on YouTube, and they send me a screenshot of their plasma screen because they're watching YouTube on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, cool. Those ads are working, right? But I try and make it. I got to put myself out there. Yeah, I'm trying to find out better ways to do that, right? So I wouldn't say I'm a master at it. It's just one of those things where it's a trial and error. Like, oh, this works, or maybe maybe it only works now. Maybe it's not gonna 6 months from now that I got to shift over to.
And do you have specific calls to action in your videos?
So I have a very interesting perspective on this. There was a lot of agents who do like the lead capture.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, I'll show you this property. I'll show you one picture. If you go to this website and if you enter your information, then I'll give you everything else. Like, it's kind of one of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know that can be effective for getting contact information sometimes, but I just like to create brand awareness. And I like to have people be aware of my brand so that they could actually do some research to find out who I am. If I put enough content out there, they'll go and search, on their own to see if like, hey, this person they know what he's doing, or if they like me or not, or whatever. And so that way they can kind of come back to me when the time is right. And so is that probably the most effective do business? You could probably argue not. That's just the way that I do it. So if you look at my ads, I give you everything. Here's the photo. Here's the property website. Has all the information there. Has everything about me, and then it has additional links for like my social channel. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I am very big on brand awareness, not lead generation. And I could probably debate this with 100 different agents, and they'll tell me 100 different things. So that's just the way that I look at it.
So there's this premise out there that you need to always be asking for the sale, right? You have to always be asking for the sale, but you're kind of taking the opposite of that. You're just saying, here I am. This is just me. I'm a normal guy. If you're connecting with me, if I make a connection, people are just reaching out to you and calling you. What do you have to have some sort of, are you at least just saying, if you have questions, you can reach me here? Are you
there's
doing
got to
any
be a
kind
little
of calls
bit
to
of that,
action?
Sure. I mean, there's got to be a little bit like if you want more information, here's my contact. I got to leave it there, right? There's got to be a little bit of a call to action. It can't just be like, here's a video and then no, like, yeah, we definitely have to have a way for them to contact you because that would be the intention of the video. But at the same time, I just don't shove it down their throats. It's very.
And they can contact you directly without having to go through a lead capture gateway.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't, who is that? Like, I just put out the information out there.
Yep.
And I just give the advice, and I don't ask people for their information in order for them to collect that. I
see that as a much more frictionless sale. It's you're removing hurdles to the communication hurdles between the consumer getting in touch with you, and you're just taking out all of the friction. You're just putting it out there, and they're seeing it, and they're able to contact you directly.
I have a lot better, warmer communications with first-time people than I used to have several years ago, and I think it's because of that philosophy. So that's just the way I go about it. Who knows, that might change in 6 months, but that's worked for me for the last couple of years. So, I don't really try to fix anything that's not broken. So
right.
So you'd mentioned in your first year you did 25 units. Where are you at now?
So every year I made it a goal to increase my GCI in some way, shape, or form. So it could be through my own production. It could be through better situations, so being from a different company. I switched companies quite a bit. I was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. This is my 6th company in 8 years. Yeah, 7, 8 years. So that's quite a bit, right? So I just jumped around because I got a better split. I got a better situation. I got better training, whatever it was, right? Every single year. So I systematically through that, if I just did the same every year, but I increased my split at each company, I would have a bigger GCI at the end of the year. But on top of that, if I grew my knowledge, if I grew my skills, I just grew my overall, my business, I would see exponential growth. And then on top of that, I also joined coaching, right? So I have a coach, a real estate coach that I've been with for the last 4 or 5 years. And through that, I've seen exponential growth just through that. And then I've just improved every single year. So that first year, the next year, I more than doubled my business because obviously I was on a 50-50 split. So that was a big part of it. But on top of that, I did better that year too. So
That's
awesome. So my GCI was like 2x that second year. And then every single year beyond that, it's been a pretty good growth.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
That's awesome.
If you knew then what you know now, would you have done anything differently?
Probably not. I think a lot of things kind of fell into place by luck, but they also say like you work hard, the luckier you get, right?
Yeah.
So I think
I think that
people tell me
probably
that all the time, and I'm like, no, that was pretty lucky.
yeah, yeah.
I might have
Or
worked hard, but that was really lucky, you know.
I think Thomas Edison. It's the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah, right. So like I was like, you know, I've been fortunate enough, and I also was like, okay, like that took to heart, you know, the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
You know, you're an average or median of the people that you surround yourself with. So I made a decision to surround myself with more better people, right? More people that have just driver of success in them. So yeah, just my environment just is really good right now. I'm surrounded by people that just want to succeed and just want to do well. And generally good people. So that works to my favor.
If you could introduce me to some of those, I'm looking to replace some podcasts. No, it's totally true. I mean, one of the the digs aside, one of the things that I think is, you know, we don't talk about enough maybe on the marketing trench is just that last point, because and I've mentioned this on previous episodes, but Scott and Ricardo have just been such a, you know, huge influence on me, and you too, Chris. I mean, just watching you go out there and do what you're doing and put yourself out there and tell your stories. I mean, it's always I walk away from your stuff with a smile on my face. Even today, you posted this video where you were just venting a little bit about a situation in your neighborhood, you know, and I was like, oh, dude, it hurts, but I, you know, like I felt like I was connecting with you, even though you and I weren't talking, you know, like we weren't hanging out or anything. It was just like, oh man, like I'm part of Chris's story right now, and this is really fun. Even though this is a bummer of a moment, it's really fun to just kind of see him work through it, you know. And I think, you know, it's like similarly, just the other day, Ricardo called me and he was working through some stuff. He's got a little baby girl on the way.
Yeah,
the first in a month, right?
Yeah,
dude.
The panic is settling in. No, just kidding.
You should take a screenshot of him now. He's smiling now. In a few weeks, you won't be smiling that much.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, I just think about, you know, Ricardo called me up and he's like, "Hey, man, what did I not think to buy for my kids' nursery?" It's those kinds of conversations that I think really deepen relationships, you know. And Chris, you're just so good at having those kinds of conversations over video, bringing people into what you're thinking about, sharing with them the stuff you love. I just think it's really, really powerful. We're wrapping up here. We're coming to the end of this thing. Is there any question or any thought that we should have explored that we weren't smart enough to ask you about? Something that jumps out to you?
You guys are probably smarter than me.
No.
No, I mean, I just think with the changing times, like, I think with everything going on, I first, the thing that I heard constantly the very first week that the stay-at-home order happened was, "Oh man, we'll be back to normal." And I was like, "No, we're definitely, this is not, like, we're not going back to normal. We're going to find a new normal," right? Lives, right? It could be business, it could be social, it could be how you get food. Like it's all going to change, which means like your mind and the way that you do things has to change as well. Like you have to adapt. And like I'm always thinking to myself, like, how do I stay, you know, a step ahead or 2 steps ahead? And I think just kind of naturally with video and stuff, I was already there, but still, even with that, I still got to stay ahead of that, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I'm going to be working from home for the rest of the year. I don't know about you guys. Like I'm probably not going to go into the office for the rest of the year, which means like everything is going to be different, right? And so like whatever that is for you, I think it's important to understand like, okay, what's my new normal? Like how do I shift in these changing times and be relevant and be still successful and all that? And I think you know, cool. It's nice to have, right? But it doesn't mean that nobody's going to catch up to you.
Yeah, that's it. Chris Kwon.
And you also sound like, I was just going to say, you sound like you you are your biggest competition? I mean, in terms of creating content, it sounds like you're always trying to improve on your story and your skill sets and your equipment, and you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're just trying to improve yourself.
Yeah, there's definitely people that influence you, right? So you're definitely, you want to like, kind of emulate what's working for them, but it's also kind of a trial and error too. Like, hey, is it going to work for me? Like it's a lot of trial and error. A lot of it's just trial and error. Like like what they say about Jordan, like he's failed more times than he's actually won or something like that, or he's missed more, something like that. I've failed numerous times. You just don't see it. I just don't, post it out there. Maybe if they had all my failures on that or something.
You have to start a blooper reel channel.
Yeah, right. But I think people like that's kind of a humanizing point of marketing too. It's just that if you see failure, if you see struggle, if you see like, frustration, like people can relate to that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's like, okay, cool. I might as well share it, right? So.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. And
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. And if you're listening to this podcast, you want to listen to previous episodes where we've talked about other style of video marketing or building trust assets, all of our previous episodes can be found at marketingtrench.fm. Marketingtrench.fm is where we keep our records of just different podcasts and things we're thinking about and working on. Also, we are a proud member of the Real Disrupt Podcast Collaborative. If you want to check out other great shows on lending, marketing, sales, check out realdisrupt.com. The Real Disrupt Podcast Collaborative is for people in the real estate industry doing real estate marketing. And then finally, check us out on Facebook if you want access to any kind of guides or any kind of websites or things that we're coming across and thinking is really valuable. That's where we post our stuff. So join our group. And then also, of course, we broadcast here. So if you don't want to miss another episode of the Marketing Trench, you can find us there. And finally, we ask that you would like and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Super helpful. Just gets the word out there, helps people to find us. So if this is something that's bringing value to your life, please do leave us a review, leave us a rating. That would be amazing. Until next time, this has been the Marketing Trench.
Yeah.
Yeah.